has impacted the communities you work with, and some perhaps positive responses as well as negative responses. And I'd invite you to go first, Imam.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say that the situation didn't become a problem until certain people, certain politicians fanned the flames because of the primaries. And they put it out there because it was already in process. They had already passed all of the boards and all the rest of that. And you know what happens? I mean, I'm talking to Christians, so you know the whole sheep thing. You know about the sheep and the shepherds. And you know what sheep are. And so you got people who understand that very well, and they begin to do things and cause people to respond emotionally because they have a high passion about certain things. And so people get excited. I went to a new pastor speak last week, and I'm here this week. But we don't hear about it anymore, do we? Right. You don't hear about it anymore. This is the point that I was making last week. You don't even hear about it anymore. So why do you have to do it? Someone said, well, why don't you just move? Well, I said, you know, I'm a very soft-hearted person, kind person. I think my wife could agree with that. And so I thought about it, and I said, you know, the prophet, peace be upon him, he said that one of the smallest degrees of faith is to remove an obstacle from the path. So if this is an obstacle, remove it from the path, do something else. And then I thought again, and I said, you know what happened? If they move 2 blocks away, they'll be asked to move 2 more blocks away, and then 2 more blocks away, and then 2 more blocks away, and then they will say, no, we're not going to be satisfied until you give up your religion. That's right. You see? So because of that, I said, no, they should stay. And we have people, Muslims, non-Muslims, some will, no, they should move, because you have some pacifists. Some people think, oh, no, they should do. But the reality is, that place, they already had Muslims down there to begin with. Not only that, but in the World Trade Center itself, there was a musalla, the place of prayer for Muslims for Friday. You don't hear about that. Right. They were praying there. Not only that, one of my brothers who passed, and I do believe that it has something to do with him being at Ground Zero. I don't know for sure, but I just felt that it had something because he just passed. But he was at Ground Zero. He was one of the people to help out, okay? And he actually wears the robe and stuff, so when he came, people were whispering, hey, Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden. No, but he came to help. They found the person, and they were really messed up about the position that this person was in because his feet were back like this, and he was flat like a pancake. And they was wondering, what was going on here? And Sheikh Ishmael said that was a Muslim in prayer. He was actually in prayer, and that's why his feet are smashed back like that. So he was praying in that building when he was killed. Okay? So yes, yeah, there's this hysteria about, you know, what's going on, and people are talking about this hallowed ground, but yet they have peep shows and bars all over the place. And here we're talking about not a mosque being built there, but a community center like the YMCA. The Jewish community, the Jewish center, the Jewish community center was very helpful in giving them information on how to do this. So, and the group that they're talking about is a Sufi group. I mean, not political at all. As spiritual as you can be. What's the problem? There really should not be a problem. But because of the people exploiting the emotions of the people, these people who know what they're doing, I won't mention their names, you know their names. They did what they did, and now you don't hear anything. Those who believe in the Quran, and those who follow the Jewish scripture, and the Christians and the Sabians, and who believe in Allah on the last day, because Allah is the same word, it's God. If you were Lebanese, if you was in Egypt, and you were Christian, you say Allah, you don't say God. Okay? Believe in Allah on the last day, and work righteousness shall have their reward with their Lord. On them should be no fear, nor shall they grieve. So as far as I'm concerned, because I know everybody's not going to be a Muslim, what I want is for you not to be an Islamophobe. See? If you're not an Islamophobe, then that means that we can live together. You my neighbor, I'm your neighbor. I come over to your house and bring food to you, and you bring food to me. We have a relationship. Our children grow up together. We have a relationship. But if you're an Islamophobe, then you are looking at me as though I'm some kind of a disease or an animal or something, and that's not what I am. So I wanted to just say that about that to start off.
So Auburn is right across the street from the Interchurch Center where Imam Faisal and Daisy have their offices currently. And so we have worked together on many different projects. We're friends. We eat together. We have worshiped together, and so this hit us, in a very personal way. And I think a lot of us who were trying to take some vacation in August gave up eventually because all of this was swirling around in such a huge way. We were involved in a sort of trying to reshape kind of the media a little bit, and put together a letter that was signed by religious leaders, Stop the War on Prayer, which is what we identified some of those people, unnamed people that you were talking about. We saw that as what they were really trying to do, and so we were very focused on the issue of religious freedom that this seemed to violate, and the religious bigotry that this was surfacing, and really tried to look at this as an opportunity for us to explore our deep American value of religious freedom, and to decide if we really believe in that value, or do we only believe in religious freedom when it's convenient, or only for some groups but not others. And so that's how we were framing the Park 51 situation. I did quite a lot of blogging in the Washington Post around this issue, because I thought to put this Islamic center there with a prayer space was really a redemptive act. I saw it as, redemption in terms of taking something that's tragic and trying to transform it and turn it around, and that instead of this being an act of conquest, we're putting our stake in the ground here as close to, and it wasn't that at all, but it was an act of a place that would be a place of engagement and dialogue, which is what I think needs to happen. And knowing Daisy and Imam Faisal, I knew that would be, and we would be working with them there. There were a lot of positive outcomes. There was a group of New York neighbors for religious freedom, particularly in Lower Manhattan, who came together. We were a part of that, and colleagues were a part of that. I found myself for the first time speaking on a platform on a street corner to several thousand people with Imam Talib and Jim Forbes, and I had never done that with cars whizzing past and NYPD around, and found my voice in a different way, 30 years into this ministry. And then there was the Liberty Walk for religious freedom, where groups from all over the city came together, several thousand strong, to march together. I had my mother with me for that as I spoke. She's 90 years old. And I told the congregation gathered that she had cut her teeth marching in civil rights marches, and that she wanted to be with us to march for this particular issue. And she moved 7 years ago to New York City, as I told them, because she heard that New York City was the most welcoming place in the world. And so it was a very moving experience. So that was a hugely positive outcome for so many people in New York City to come together in this kind of active engagement. And that's a launching for what will come, and there are lots of things planned. We have since then, what we see is that this is the opportunity. Now that the media has quieted down, now is the moment. Now is the time for us to act, and not to let things slide, But now is the time to really work together. And so we at Auburn have convened our interfaith partners in the city, and we are trying to put together a campaign for New York City between now and the 10th anniversary of 9/11 to try to do a better job of healing and educating New York City, and hopefully as a model for other places. You know, what can we do? Because we were sort of caught off guard. Even those of us who do a lot of interfaith work, we think we do good work, but we hadn't done enough because look at what happened. And so we're trying to figure out what that would look like in terms of a year-long set of activities, of events, of dialogue. And I want to say one last thing about dialogue. You know, people think, oh, what's dialogue good for? I don't know if any of you read the Malcolm Gladwell article called Small Change in the New Yorker, I guess it was last week. And whatever you think of Malcolm Gladwell, you know, the author of Blink and Tipping Point and all of that, he was saying that social change, revolutions, don't happen, are not going to really happen on the internet, as some have predicted. Because he says, you know, the internet and social networking can help in a revolution or making social change, but those are weak links. What really is going to matter in the end are the deep human connections that are formed in activities like dialogue, the drawing close to each other, the learning each other that only comes by really personal engagement. And I just took that to heart, because when we think about, you know, mass marketing dialogue or whatever, it's just not going to work that way. It's going to be, you know, the communities like the ones here at Stony Point, you know, where Lynn and Rick and others are trying to engage each other, and it's harder that way, but I think in the end that's what can save us. So that's what we're about.